Belief is a prerequisite for success, but doesn't guarantee it. That's one lesson that I took from reading How to Build a Car by Adrian Newey, which is a bit of a different read for me. If you don't know the name Adrian Newey, then you're probably not a Formula One fan, I'm guessing. He's one of the most renowned engineers in the history of Formula One. So, designs some of the best cars. So, he's at Red Bull at the moment. And to give you a quick glimpse of his, CV in the sport of Formula One, cars that he's designed have won over 200 races and 14 championships, and probably soon to be 15 this year, including, so I mentioned he's at Red Bull, so he designed Red Bull's 2023 Formula One car, the RB19, which became the most successful car in the history of the sport, winning 21 out of 22 races that season. So that's a bit about who Adrian Newey is. Essentially, super successful guy in the world of engineering Formula One. So why did I read this book, How to Build a Car, and how does it tie into, belief being a prerequisite for success, but not guaranteeing success? So two reasons I read the book. One, simply, is because one of my mates, Jordan, is a massive Formula One fan, and he wanted to read the book, and so I decided that I'd read it as well, because I'd kind of considered reading the book. So he was reading it, so I thought, you know what, I'll read it as well, and then we can discuss it afterwards. The second reason that I read it was, ever since I read the biography by Walter Isaacson of Leonardo da Vinci, probably 18 months to 2 years ago now, I've always... One of the things that Leonardo was great at was that he took lessons from other fields. So he didn't just stay in his narrow domain of painting, as an example. He went and he learned about engineering. He learned and studied optics. He learned, I don't know, just everything basically, right? He's designing weapons in his spare time and all this sort of, did all these different things. And one of the big lessons I took from reading about Leonardo da Vinci was being multidisciplinary, right? Looking to different fields, learning different things outside of your immediate domain. When I read Poor Charlie's Almanac by Charlie Munger, one of Warren Buffett's business partner at Berkshire Hathaway, he also echoed those statements around being a multidisciplinary person. Benjamin Franklin is another one. Anyway, so they kind of all roll up into this meta lesson, let's say, that I've taken over the past 2 years, which has been learn from different fields. Look at the goats of other areas and see what you can learn from them. So I decided I wanted to learn about one of the goats of Formula One engineering and see what I would learn that would apply to my life and also to my work as a consultant, right? And there's one quote which I highlighted from the book, which I thought was absolute gold and is the basis of what I want to discuss today. And so Adrian Newey, in his book, he wrote this: I always try to draw with passion. In other words, I have to believe that what I'm drawing will be the next step forward. I find that if I don't believe in what I'm drawing, it has never worked. However, the nature of it is that probably only around 25% of my drawings end up directly on the car as physical parts. And I love that quote because I essentially take two things from it. First of all, if he doesn't, and when he's talking about drawing, right, he's obviously talking about drawing a design for a car or a part for a car. So two things that I love about it. First of all, he says, it shows that if he doesn't believe in what he's drawing, then it never works. It never ends up making it to the car, right? Which is that first part around belief being a prerequisite for success. If he's drawing a part and he doesn't really believe that it's going to work, it's never worked, right? But then the second half of that quote, he says that even when he does believe in the part, only around 25% of the time does it end up actually making it to the car. So, but the belief doesn't guarantee the success. And I like that because it's an interesting distinction, because it's not just about, believe and it will happen for you, right? It's you do need to believe, because one of the things that I learned reading biographies of all these guys like Steve Jobs, James Dyson, and that sort of thing is that you can have the best idea in the world, the most sound concept in the world, but it's very rarely easy to make it successful. Even if it is the right idea, it's often so hard to make it, manifest in the world as whatever it is, whether it's a new iPhone or whatever it might be. So it takes, if you don't believe, then you are not going to be resilient enough and passionate enough to bring the idea to fruition. So the belief is necessary, but the belief doesn't guarantee success, right? I started thinking about this, it was probably maybe 3 years ago now. I wrote an article on LinkedIn, and it was titled On the Merits and Myths of Manifestation. Because at the time, I can't remember what had me thinking about it at the time, but I was thinking a lot about this kind of like scale of beliefs around manifestation, right? Where like on one end of the scale, you've got people who, see manifestation as complete hogwash, no merit in it, achieves nothing. On the other end of the spectrum, you've got people who believe that if they tell the universe what they want, what they desire, that the universe is going to give it to them. And I realized that I kind of landed somewhere in the middle, where I kind of like, I believed in some of the principles of manifestation, but not necessarily the explanations. In fact, it's not that I believed in the principles. I believed in some of the practices of manifestation, but not the explanation of why they worked. So I would do things like write my goals down on a piece of paper every morning and that sort of thing. I also had them written on my bathroom mirror, so I would see them every day and I would think about them and had affirmations and all that sort of thing. But then I didn't believe that my goals were coming true because like the universe was giving them to me. I believed that, in this specific example, I believed that my goals were coming true because I was thinking about my goals at the start of every single day, and that was guiding my actions. And that just makes sense in my head, because if you don't have goals, then of course you're not going to reach those goals, right? Because they don't even exist. And if you do have goals, but you wrote them down once and never looked at them again, then of course that makes sense to me that you would be less likely to achieve them than if you had those same goals, but you read them every single morning. Because if you read them every single morning, they're going to be front of mind, you're going to notice opportunities throughout the day and all that sort of thing. So, and coming back to what Adrian Newey said, I love that, like what he's saying in this quote, I think is a very similar thing, where he's saying the belief is necessary for the success. If he doesn't believe in the part that he's drawing, then it never makes it onto the car. But just because he believes in a car part that he's drawing doesn't mean that it's going to improve, lap time around the track, because that would just be ridiculous. And that's kind of that far end of manifestation, when you believe, if I wish upon a star, it's going to come to me. Like, no, it doesn't matter how hard Adrian Newey wishes when he's, drawing a part in the car, it doesn't mean it's going to make the car go faster. But if he doesn't believe in it, he knows that it's definitely not going to make the car go faster. And if he does believe in it, there's about a 25% chance that it'll make the car go faster. So, like I said, I think about that in terms of like the goals that I set. So, doing those simple practices like what I was talking about in terms of like writing down goals every day and having them front of mind doesn't guarantee that you're going to achieve them. But for me, it makes it a lot more likely that I will achieve them. And so that's why I, used to do that practice, and probably why it's something I should think about doing again. I haven't done that for maybe 2 years now, and I think it is something that I should bring back. So hopefully, I don't know how long this has been going for, but hopefully a bit of a shorter one today than usual. But yeah, the key takeaway, belief is a prerequisite for success, but it doesn't guarantee it. Thanks, guys.